So aloha kako. If you don't know me, I'm Malia Nobriga Oliveira, and I'm tuning in from my Onehano, from Hanapepe, Kauai. And on behalf of Hawaii Akea, the School of Hawaiian Knowledge, we're always excited to bring ʻOhana from all different places together and to share exciting programs and projects that is happening Āina wide, and then sometimes even going Mavaho o ka Āina outside of the Āina, and being able to share with one another. So awesome. We're happy to just have you all here. And I can see on our Facebook, we're on gallery view, so we can see everybody. So I'm going to start with ʻOhana Punua. Can you guys unmute yourself and give us a brief ho'olauna?
Aloha mai kākou, o mākou ka ʻohana punua, no kane o he mai au, or mai mākou. Ko'olau poko, eo ko'olau poko.
Eo, a o waiho keia mau haikamahine u'iloa ma ko au.
Aloha o wau o ko'iahi. Aloha o wau o ma'aloa.
Aloha e nā hoa. So aloha e ka ʻohana punua. So we'll jump to ʻohana chop. Let's see. Go ahead.
Ai, aloha mai kākou, o ke ia ka ʻohana chop. Ke noho nei I ka malu o ka ua pō ai hale ma ka halu'u. Aloha.
Aloha. O makemake wau e lohe I nā leo na keiki. Hiki ke ho'olauna I ko lako inoa.
Aloha o wau ka ilima. Aloha o wau ka opua. Aloha ka ai.
Aloha. O wai o mama.
Aloha o wau o Ariane.
Aloha. Oh, a nani ho'i na palule ti ko'olau ʻaina momona, nani no, mahalo. Pehea ʻoko e ka ʻohana Kanoa-Wong, aloha.
Aloha mai kākou, o mākou ka ʻohana Kanoa-Wong, noho mākou ma waima nalo ko'olau poko. O ke ia o ha'aipo, ame.
Aloha o Lei Ānuenue Kanoa-Wong ki ia. Aia no mākou ma ka ʻaina nani o kahana ma hui lua I kia la. Aia no ka makani a hiu no la kala mai na hiki ole ke lohe ke kahi manawa ma muli o ke la a hiu.
Nani no ka ʻaina a hiki ke ike I na ao. A ole lohe ia na makani no leila. A ole he pilikia ke ia manawa. Pehea ʻoko e ka ʻohana Domingo, aloha.
O mai kākou o mākou ke ia nei o ka ʻohana Domingo, I ka kai o kane hualani nei ma ka āawa. O ko'olau loa, e o ko'olau loa, e o. O wau kaiki no ka la.
O wau o kuamola.
Ia.
O wau o ke Domingo.
Wau o Kauha'anu.
Oh, piha no ke la ki'i nani loa. Oh, mai ka'i loa, aloha kako. Oh, and I see more ʻohana joining us. Uncle Walter Riddy's joining us. And we have ʻohana also from Kahalu'u, Jamie, and from Connecticut as well. So mai ka'i loa. So maybe I'll turn it back to Ānuenue and tell us a little bit about ko'olau ʻaina momona and how you guys got started.
Hiki no, ko'olau ʻaina momona started back in 2015, and back then all of our hiapo were maybe 8, 9 years old, and it started out of like, what are you gonna do at your keiki this summer? And at that time, the offerings of summer programs were real limited, especially to the things that we like to do, like culturally grounded, malama ʻaina and food security wise. So we, you know, if you look, as I look at all of us are kumu somewhere. We were kumu at kumukula in our schools, and so all of us had summers off. And I think I posed the question, like, how come, you know, we teach everyone else's keiki but our own? And that's kind of how it started. We had no nonprofit. We had no no transportation, but we had the ʻiʻini to really just do it. And that's really what I encourage ʻOhana, is like, you just gotta do it. You cannot wait for the grant. You cannot wait for the, and this is just like a real glimpse of the larger ʻOhana that we are blessed to be with. And that's how we started. So Ko Lau ʻAina Momona services Keiki from Waimanalo all the way out to Punalu'u, or maybe Hau'ula now. And, majority of us, all our Keiki go to school together. Many of them attend Kekula o Kamakau in He'eia. And now since then, 6 years later, we, our Keiki have dispersed all over, but we're still together. And as I'll share some slides later and just kind of share some of the main components of our program. And, we're not here we really want to share so that other ʻOhana can maybe have ideas to do the same in their muku. I think Oahu, people don't think of us doing these kinds of things, but farming in the lo'ikalo, harvesting our own pua'a, but it's something that we need to start thinking about and practicing more.
Mahalo. And like I said, I'm lucky to call all of you. I had to go look. I was like, I'm happy to call all of them my friends as well. And I've been able to see a lot of these Keiki grow up from when they were born, and when I get to watch the experiences on Facebook, I'm just like, wow, like so amazing. Like you said, every ʻOhana and every community needs to have these kinds of experiences, because some of us, and especially, and like I didn't grow up on Oahu. I grew up on Kauai, and luckily on Kauai we always grew up harvesting our own pua'a. Grandpa always just brought it together as ʻOhana, and if you knew you were gonna have luau coming up, well, you gotta make sure that you raising pigs and you get one little pig farm for you and your ʻOhana, or things like that. So I it's always so exciting. So let's see, how should we proceed? And because I know we all got so many mo'olelos, so how about if we hear like a favorite experience from this summer? Or maybe we'll start with your Keiki, since you're live right now. You guys want to share like one thing, if you could only talk about one thing from this summer's experience, what would that be? And we didn't practice any of this, just to let you guys know. So Ko'iahi, you're the kua'ana there. What's one thing?
It's really hard.
And Pohaka Leo. Anything.
I think the highlight of my summer was being able to harvest the pua'a. My favorite part was pulling out the guts. But I also really loved going up to Maunawili Valley, because we got to open up a lot of lo'i and plant more huli.
Awesome. Ma'a, how about you?
I think one of the highlights of my summer is learning how to do ohe kapala, because I get to practice on small details.
Nice. So already I'm hearing two totally different experiences. How about for ʻOhana Chalk?
I think one one time in the summer that was super fun was going up to Pu'umaʻeliʻeli and then sharing the story of Kane and Kanaloa and Maui.
I think my favorite part of ʻOhana is going to the kite. I ate the oli.
The oli.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I've always loved seeing those pictures too with of all the keiki going to the ocean and, you know, actually learning to poke squid and get those experiences. So awesome. Hea ka ʻohana Kanoa-Wong. Hea kau hana punahele mai ke kau wela mai.
Aloha, aloha, aipo Kanoa-Wong. And my favorite experience during this summer was going to the lo'i behind Waimanalo. That was my favorite experience because not only am I from Waimanalo, but I never knew that there were lo'i. I never knew where a lot of the lo'i were. So that was really cool to like learn about that area and that place and get to go and hana there and give back to our ahupua'a. Aloha, aloha, Āina. And my favorite thing this summer was working at Kahonu because I've never worked at a lokoi'a in Waimanalo before, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Aloha, Mana. My favorite thing this summer was.
Leonie. My favorite thing was.
My favorite thing was. Holo holo.
Holo holo me vai, me anakala.
Me anakala li'i.
Hea ka mea ike ai ma ke kai.
He'e.
He'e.
Mahalo. Pehea ka ʻohana Domingo. Hea ka ʻoko hana punahele mai ke kau wela mai. Ne eko ke mai.
Ka punahele ka ohiliu me anakala wai.
Ohiliu.
Yeah, komanava.
Kau mea punahele ke ia kau wela.
Leo nui.
Leo hoi kalu kai me anakala li kai ke ana kai puhi mau ia kai no.
Hey, ʻohana, komanava.
O ka'u mea punahele ke ia kau wela ka hana kulolo me nā ke alo me ka ʻohana ke aloha.
Kulolo. Mali, komanava.
Me punahele ka hana ka wainiu.
Ana nei ka wainiu, waiu niu.
Oh, mai kai. Ena makua, hiki paha ke kahi ke wehe mai ka oko'a o ka papahana I keia kauwela. No ka mea ua loli iki mai ke la mau makahiki aku nei, yeah? There was, yeah, just, and I'm going to unuhi a little bit too for, we have a variety of audiences joining us. So, you know, normally they would all get together in Ko'olau and do their papahana in different groups and go to different areas. But because of COVID, as Ānuenue shared a little bit earlier, they did things a little differently. So I don't know, maybe, can I reach out to Kalaunu'ola maybe?
Hi, aloha kako. So this past summer to maka'ala the palekana of all of us. In our huaka'i, so we were separated into 5 groups. We had Ko'olauloa, He'eia Kahalu'u, Hane Ohe, Kailua, and Waimanalo. And every Monday, for 3 Mondays in a row, we were able to take a huaka'i nui together. The safety precautions we were our pale maka, pale ihu. We really tried to keep our distance, kekahi, but you know, we're also pili, so we learned ways like Enlina Poi Poi instead of Pa'alima, mahalo to the ʻohana mar, we would pili na vavai, or we would fist bump, or you know, bump our kikalas to aloha kekahi. And Mahalo to Ānuenue for empowering all of us in our own ʻāina, each hui. Uh, the the pahuhoku nui this summer was to harvest the pua'a for the hui pe'ahi, because the hui. Oh, and also that's another thing. Our keiki were separated by age before. We had iwa, pe'ahi, kupu, and ihi lawakea. So our hiapo already harvested pua'a and pipi and moa, and our hui pe'ahi, it was our hui pe'ahi's turn. They harvested a pipi, or they participated in ho'omahelehele, the meat after the pipi was harvested, and then it was their turn to harvest the pua'a this summer.
So exciting. So since we were still on Kala, I'm gonna ask you a question really quickly, because I'm assuming now as a, now I cannot say you're a keiki anymore, but you're probably transitioning, I'm guessing, into being a kumu or an alakai or whatever that title is. And tell us about, because I know before you were a keiki just like all of these others, and what's your role now as you kokua with Ko'olau Āina Momona?
So this year was my second year kind of being a kako'o kung kako'o, I suppose you could say. But I feel like as a whole, all these kids are kind of like my younger siblings, even though they're not. So having taking on like a kua'ana role, especially for like the kids Ko'iahi's age, kind of in the same boat with me right now, is trying to steward the younger Keiki and to take care of them. But yeah, it's kind of what my kuleana was.
Mahalo. You know, something I, of course, because I get to see from other friends too, their postings about some of your little hybrid of learning more about Kilo from Kumukalei Nu'uhiwa. And because she lives on another island, she was doing these exciting activities once in a while with you guys, and then empowering you to be a Kilo and to expand what you guys already knew about Kilo. So I don't know, maybe ʻOhana Chalk, you guys want to share a little bit about working with Auntie Kalei Nu'uhiwa? Any one of you?
It was awesome to get Auntie Kalei sharing with our keiki in the Papakilo Āina. It's not often where we get her working with the young age group, so halo nui naya no ke lahana. And she made us, she offered ha'awina for us to build our own panana. So every morning we'd have to wake up and find where the kanehoalani is coming from, and then we set up our panana with the 3 pohaku, and our keiki would go out and like find out where Kanoa-Wong is on the horizon, and it's great. And so we have that consistency with that papa, but also she created ha'awina that was appropriate for like the kids. So like they're like hands-on kind of ha'awina. There was ha'awina where she showed us how to tell time with ki'i. She's showed like the ki'i were not just you know, like beautiful images of our akua, but ways to tell time. And so the kids were able to color and build things that represented that. And it was good fun with being active. Very good fun.
Awesome. And oh, cool. So maybe ʻOhana Kanoa-Wong, maybe share a little bit more about some of the experiences in Waimanalo. That's actually where my dad is from. My dad's side of the ʻOhana is from Waimanalo, so I definitely have a connection to the Ko'olau side of Oahu, specifically Waimanalo. So what were some of the other things the Keiki were able to experience there?
It was really awesome because when we go to Waimanalo for Ko'olau Āina Momona before, you know, it'd be like kaionas or you know, we're used to having pahonu, but to really try to figure out, okay, where are the lo'i? Where can we connect to lo'i mauka? and have our keiki experience the Malka Tumakai in Waimanalo, which we don't get to do so much, you know. So it's really relying on our connections that we had within the community. And one of our big focuses that we had this summer was teaching our keiki Waimanalo, which we had 9, was to show them what are our palana, what are our boundaries, looking at the mahele and the old maps, right? That our boundaries don't end at Makapu'u, that Waimanalo extends all the way to the Moku boundary in Kuli'o'o. So we took our keikis from over there. Anake Ka'anohi Kalama Makumber showed our keikis where the boundary was on the Kailua side. So showing our kiki Waimanalo that, you know, they can hear us talk about it, but really the borders that we have, that Puapa fish pond was in our district, that we could feed so many people just from our ahupua'a, was really kind of the mana'o nui that we had, and all of the places that we could go to and all of our resources. So we spent quite a bit of time talking about our boundaries, our vahikana, and that was important for me because I half grew up visiting my kupuna in Waimanalo, where I live at their homestead now, but not really knowing and diving deep into the place names. And so that was really important for us as a ʻOhana to kind of get ma'a to that and to ho'ola the names in that way. So I really appreciated this summer. And having Ali'i Kaka'o from Ali'i, who is Kama'aina and took our keiki 2 or 3 times a week. ʻOhana Ho, Auntie Ilima and her ʻOhana, who helped us find the pua'a and harvest it. We're just very blessed to have all those connections in Waimanalo. Keiki?
To learn more about.
What did you guys learn about?
We learned about the palena. I didn't know how far it went into like where we call Hawaii Kai now. I didn't know that was where Waimanalo actually, it's not Hawaii Kai, it's part of Waimanalo. And learning more about where we're from that I never knew before, and
we took the kids from Kuli'o'o and then we drove to show them the marina, right? And we said we're still in the fish pond, and next thing you know, we're in the back of the valley, and we're like, guess what? This is still the fish pond, still the local. And the kikis are like, what? But we're all the way up Malka. So it was really fun to show them, like, oh, we were able to feed this many people with this ʻāina. So yeah, that's what we kind of focused on this summer.
Aipo, I had a question for you, and maybe it's not from this summer, but I think you were part of the group that went to Kona to harvest the pipi last year, I think. Was that last year or the year before?
It was 2 years ago, I think, 2018, right?
Was that your first time?
Yes, it was.
And how was that? Like, what I'm gonna guess that was kind of mind-blowing.
Well, before the pipi we did the pua'a. So like pipi is so big and then the pua'a was so small, so seeing all the insides and skinning it was just such a different experience. But I'm very grateful to have known where our food comes from all of the animals that we have harvest for us. So yeah.
Awesome. Maybe I'm going back to Ko'iahi, because I saw some of those pictures of you pulling the pua'a up and having to, I don't know if did you guys skin it, or I don't know, tell us a little bit about that process.
The pua'a?
Yeah, the pua'a.
So we had these 2 uncles, Uncle Lucas and Uncle Lawrence from Kailua, and mahalo to Uncle Mark Shad because he provided us the pua'a. So we started off by putting the pua'a down. For me, I was kind of used to it because I had already harvested a pua'a before, but some of our little keikis were not that okay with it. But then we started by putting the pua'a down, and then they brought the pua'a over and they started pouring hot water on it so we could take all of the hair, the skin off. And then we opened the pua'a up, pulled all the guts out, and tied its feet, and then hung it from a tree. And then we had to pull the pua'a up and tie it around. And yeah,
She was excited to grab the heart.
yeah, I was really excited to do that.
Ma'a, were you a part of that group that harvested the pua'a too?
Yep.
So was that your guys' first time or you've done it before?
Done it before.
From beginning to end?
Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, what is the one thing you want to share about the harvest pua'a part?
It's a fun activity to do because you get to watch the process from a live animal to in your next meal.
Awesome. So, what is one thing you guys did with the pua'a?
We
Meaning,
made
like for eye-wise.
so we made kalua pig and cabbage, and then we also smoked the pua'a. So we have some smoked meat too.
Nice. So, Ānuenue, did each of the different ʻohana in different places harvest their own pua'a, or did you guys come together, or how did that work?
So in the past, like Kalonuola had shared, we usually save the ha'awina of harvesting the pua'a. We save it for the hui that they're usually like 10 years old. Yeah, 10, 11 years old. During the summer, that's like their kuleana is to harvest the pua'a. And because of this summer, we couldn't all gather together. That was one of my tasks. I tasked every group. So we have 5 hui. And I said, okay, well, and part of it, it's like the prerequisite. So in order for them to go to Hawaii Island to harvest the cow, they have to harvest the pig. And because we cannot go up to Hawaii Island and the keiki are not mako cow, like to see that, because that is like how Aipo shared, it's a really, it's a huge animal, right? So going from a pig to that is, at least it prepares them for what to expect. And I have to say mahalo to Ku'ike, Kamakeo Ohelo. His ʻohana were one of the first ʻohana. And our first year, he was raising a lot of pua'a. And that's how we started doing this, was that he had a pig in the back of his truck and we're like, oh, wow. And he was sharing his natural farming or things that he was doing at that time. And our first week in Ko'olau Āina Momona, I always share this with people, is that our measurements was we harvested 1 pua'a, 6 chickens, and I think we were able to feed our ʻohana like chicken papaya, things from around their ʻāina. That was our week 1. But so this year, everybody had to figure it out. Like I said, okay, go find a pua'a. And a lot of it is your own resources, the people in your group, the people in your community that you don't think about all the time. Like you don't always think about if you know somebody and they're right there, they're your neighbors. So it was really cool. And I know I do have like one picture, but every hui had to figure out where they were gonna find their pua'a and find who could help them to harvest it. And it was up to them how they wanted to prepare it. So that's a big part, yeah. The keiki need to see the preparation of it. And I said, however you disperse that meat, make sure that your ʻohana get and your whoever else has helped you this summer to share that. So some made roast pork, they made a china box, and the others did imu. So I know we wanted to make sausage and all kinds of stuff, but that's okay. We get plenty pua'a to harvest in the future.
Awesome. Maybe I'll bring up some of the slides. Is that okay? And then that might spark some other questions or comments. And then if you want any of the other ʻohana to jump in, maybe they can share as we go through the slides.
Oh,
okay, let me pull that up. It's loading.
Okay, yeah, so this is our first slide, and we always got to start back with haloa and really returning to the ʻāina. So this restoring Āina momona one huli at a time. So restoring Āina momona is really our mission, and I kind of added that one huli at a time, and not just the huli, the physical huli, but it's a change in our kuana ike, yeah, in our perspective, in how we view things, in how we view education, and you know, the slides as we go on, you'll see like all of these things that we do are really content. You know, they're educational content for our ohana. All the things that we learn in the classroom can be transferred or huli back onto the Āina and vice versa. So this is a picture of us in Maunawili. These patches have not been planted for a couple of years, primarily because there's a lot of pua'a back there. And so the pua'a have been going crazy this summer or in this past year, and they're just eating all the kalo. So Uncle Mark Stride, who's in the back over there, he doesn't live up there either. So that was part of it, was that he just needed more people to come back and help him. So this is us planting. Okay, and then the next slide. This is just a little bit of our components, what everybody has shared already. We understand the food sources in our Āina regions. So, you know, in the past, we go all over together. But this summer, the fact that we had to stay close and that our ohana were primary, you know, most of our makua had to stay home too, it gave us a great opportunity for us to just work within our own ahupua'a. And so as you can see, these are the things like pua'a, mahi'ai kalo, and ulu, and whatever else in that Āina that's good. Kai, we focus on i'a and he'e, and mea kanu is the linu. And this definitely builds pilina to our Āina and knowing more of our environment. Okay, so, and again, so, you know, many programs this summer closed down. And that was a huge loss for many of our ohana. Even though they were home, many of our makua still were working. And in fact, you know, mahalo to Kamehameha schools, they provided the funding for this summer. And they even told me, they said, if you cannot go on, it's okay, because we understand this is a situation. And we thought of all different kinds of things, like sending home activities for the ohana to do and us being online. And I, you know, for me, I had a hard time with that, because I said, our whole curriculum is around being outside and being connected to our Āina. And the first thing that came to me was farming is essential. Yeah, and gathering food is essential. So we shouldn't cut that off just because of this. So how are we gonna do it? So we've shared all of this mana'o, yeah? Creating smaller groupings. These groupings were ohana groupings, yeah? So that was another part. You know, it was a whole family moving with another family of that ahupua'a. We had everybody, if we're in close corridors, to wear our masks, and we had hand sanitizer and made sure the keiki washed their, you know, hands. If they were sick, you know, people were really good about staying home, no matter who it was. Tutu was sick, you know, we realized that the home unit is bigger than just those of us that go out. So again, maximizing outdoor spaces and partnering with community-based organizations that are our hoa. So yeah, that helped to mitigate the risk, I guess, to just help us to make sure that we're not spreading this. And we had some policies in place that if some of our ohana had to travel, then they would have to stay home for a week or so, and just to make sure that they did not get anyone else sick. So, okay. All right. So mahi'ai. There's a picture of our keiki farming. And then any other ohana, maybe the next one we can share in the pua'a harvest. Maybe the ohana ko'olauloa, they can share about the next one side. I know it's not your pua'a who had the biggest pua'a, but maybe Kala or Kalaunuola can share about this, the pua'a harvest in your
First of all, I just wanted to say a huge mahalo to the Miller and the Kealoha ʻOhana, because not only were they kind of our hosts for this summer, but they were a huge help with the pua'a and harvesting. But we sourced our pig from Waialua area, so close to our moku. But we found out when we were doing the pig harvest that normally we get everything from everywhere around Oahu, but this time was like everything and everybody was from Ko'olahua, and everything was sourced right there from our moku. But we did everything from getting the pig to harvesting the pig, cleaning the pig. All the kids got everything for the emu ready. We did emu. Other groups did it. Not every group did emu, but we did emu. I think our pig was like what, like 500 pounds. I think. So
Wow.
it was a big pua'a, and we made a weekend of it, and kind of yeah, that was a good experience for the kids. But I know for our family and even for the Keloas, they do. We both our families do emu all the time, but the kids they just need to practice. Yeah, so it's good for them to do the routine and stuff. So,
When we were lucky that we had anakalas that knew how to operate big machinery because we had a big pig.
yeah.
And the the pua'a, she was makoko. You know, she was malie when we got her, and she just knew. And we had Anakala Kavika, he dug the emu, and Anakala Jimbo helped Hali Hali the pig. So our pig was tied up on the end of an excavator, and we brought it from Muka, where we helped prepare the pig with the keiki, and then we brought it down to the emu right outside of the hale. So yeah, we use big equipment. Normally, when we do our emu at home, we use shovels, and we normally do like a smaller pig. So it was an experience for all of us to appreciate the tools that we were provided and all the ohana as our resources. And the kilo has also invited their hoa to come and help us prepare the pig. To taking the skin off um, to gutting it. We learned taking the hair off the hulu hulu with green papaya and salt. The pig had a green papaya salt scrub to do the final cleaning of its hulu hulu. So we're really appreciative of all the hands that participated.
And I think the biggest lesson that I learned from our Pupua'a harvest is that, especially in our situation with COVID-19, that you really are kind of forced to look within your own ʻāina and your own communities to make it happen, to survive, to have sustenance. So it was cool to see everybody from everybody from our own moku and our own ʻāina, our neighbors, coming together, and was just that, and it was just us trying to make our own ohanas. We weren't trying to sell anything or like anything like that. So it was really eye opening to see that okay, we still can and we still can thrive within our own communities.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kala, I was just wondering, when I grew up here with my grandfather, one of the things I remember about a pua'a harvest is grandpa cleaning the na'au and using the water hose to like shoot it all out, turn them inside out and all of that. I was just wondering, like, do people still do that, or is that a Kauai thing, or I don't know. I was just wondering.
Well, for this one, we never clean out our na'au, but one of the family members actually took it. But for myself, I've seen that done like full times over my lifetime. So yes, people still do it, and I think we didn't do it this time, but my dad taught me how to make the loco that his uncles and aunties they used to make that, right. They used to clean out all the na'au, chop them all up, and make a stew, right. So we didn't, although we didn't do it for this harvest. I know my brothers have seen that done. So yeah, definitely not something that some of you guys know. So it's a good experience.
Mahalo. Okay, let's see what's the next slide. Oh, yeah. Which ʻOhana wants to maybe share a little bit about this?
So this is actually Ko'olauloa's one. You can see how big that pua'a is. I mean, that imu is huge, right? So, but I like this picture, especially just because it takes the community, you know, and we always say it takes the village, takes the kauhale, and this is something that I always strive to see more of, is that our community coming together and we can feed, you know, that's one thing COVID-19 and coronavirus taught us, was that you kind of depend on top of that, the ship coming in, you know, and that like Kala said, we are able to feed our own selves. You just got to do it. Yeah. Okay. We'll go to the next slide. Anybody want to talk about this? This is actually in the ahupua of Kaneohe, which is kind of, and it's under the H3. This ʻāina is called Luluku. And I felt this was a good picture to share because I always think about Anakala Eddie, Ka'ana, yeah, and sharing Kali'u o Kapa'akai, and always talking about that. All these things are still there. We just gotta take off the salt and rinse, and take off some more salt. So this is an image that I know for all of our ʻOhana we've kind of experienced. Like Cami sharing about Waimanalo and Ha'aipo in the back of the valley. Who knew that there was lo'ikalo? I didn't. You normally just go there for the beach, right? And so this is a great image. I mean, even under the big highway, these places still remain. So maybe the ʻOhana Chop could share, or a little bit about something like this, restoring wahipana in our ahupua'a.
Yeah, so for Kahalu'u and Heia, we had a home base lo'i at Kako'oiwi. So super thankful for Kahia Wallace for hosting us there. And so on Wednesdays we would huki, and on Fridays we would pu'i. So that was kind of like a simple routine that we saw our keiki grow in their abilities over time. And then we also reached out to other hoa and went to other lo'i. So we also visited lo'i in Waiahole, and we visited lo'i in Kahana. So it's really neat for the keiki to be able to see the different ways that people would kind of malama the way in their area and how they approach the farming. But one profound thing that happened is one of our keiki, Kalekua Mano'i Cuban, had asked, had stated during our last week, we didn't even visit any lo'i in Kahalu'u. And so, you know, our response to that was like, why do you think that? You know, and so maybe it is a matter of us not being aware of what currently exists, and also, you know, really appreciative of that fact that building that awareness and building that i'ini so that, you know, we can have more lo'i in Kahalu'u or restore lo'i in Kahalu'u. That was a big highlight for us this summer.
Waila. Who wants to share about Papakilo Limu?
Kanoa-Wong?
Hi, Hikino. So I think this is the picture at Kayona's with another group, but our Hui was lucky to meet Anakala Wali at Avava Malu. And so we went to Avava Malu, and then how many limu did we count, guys? How many? I think we're about over 17 different limu. And it was cool to talk about the invasives and for the keiki to pull up from their memory. They're lucky to get to see Uncle Wally, thanks to Ko'olo Āina momona. I think once a summer, Ānuenue, is that correct? And some of even our littlest keiki remembered some of the scientific names. Uncle Wally was so stoked. But just to show them how we can eat and remind them about that the kahua that limu is to our Hawaiian diet. So really stoked to be able to spend that time in Avava Malu with Uncle Wally. And again, for us, that was the first time that we took the keikis past Makapu'u. So it was really important to show them that, like, oh, this is part of Waimanalo too. And it was awesome. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo. Ooh, Papa O. This was one of another fun one. ʻOhana cha?
Yeah, papa'o was good fun for our keiki, especially we get the opportunity to cruise with one of the masters, ali'i, going in the kai and taking the kids, getting very ma'a to being in the water, and so much so that Kanaloa kind of reveals himself to them. Yeah. So this image right here, we have our oldest Ka'ilima actually getting to see Kanaloa up close, and I think actually in one of the other pictures you see Ka'ilima getting to dispatch the hay, kind of cleaning them up. But it was a great experience for the kids, and we love that they get to be in the kai with Uncle Ali. Our middle boy, Kupuna, he was actually got so ma'a to being in the water with Uncle Ali that they went like far out, and that's the farthest I've ever seen him be in the water. So we should open ourselves up to the kai and to these kind of experiences, and it puts our keiki in in realms that they've never been in before, but they should always be in. Yeah, so we're glad to be there.
Anybody else want to share something about papa'o, or shall I go to the next one? Okay, next. Malama Āina.
This is our Waimanalo crew out at Pahonu. And so besides helping Anakala Kimiona rebuild the wall, we talked about how the houses on the shoreline really do determine the sustainability and how it affects the fish ponds for the long term. So because of the seawalls over there, Anakala Kimiona explained to our kikis that our kuapa were made to sustain the waves coming in, but once it hit the wall, that push back from the wall towards the kuapa really disrupted the system, and there was more force from the bounce back than there was initially coming in. So the way our kupuna created the kuapa and the fish ponds were awesome and excellent, but because it's all disturbed by the wall, we have to think about how to help Pahonu and other fish ponds for the long term, because with the walls and there is more we talked about the politics of the plans right now with building taller seawalls in Waimanalo and other areas on Oahu, and how that will affect our fish ponds. So very good long-term thinking for the keikis. If we want to kokua the kia'i of this area and become the kia'i of this area, how do we maintain what we already have and inform the community about how to malama our local and our kuapa and the importance and significance of that. So that was a great learning experience. And we mahalo Anakala Kimiona and the Waimanalo Limu Hui and all the kia'i, kinohi and all the kia'i of this local ia for allowing us to participate in kokua.
Mahalo.
And I wanted to add Kumu just to, because I was thinking about every single group in Ko'olau, Āina Momona had the chance to connect to different places in Āina and restore. And as I look at our High Hawaii out there, I'm thinking about this month. Is La Ho'i Ho'i Ea is the month of Yulai. And I think about Ea. And restoring these places restores our Ea. Reconnecting to these places is our Ea. And the ai and the community and the resources that are there, when they're abundant, the ea is restored. And so I think this program has been a big part of Ho'i Ho'i Ea for all of us in Ko'olau. But this is something that people have been doing in their communities for forever. What I think is really special is this program really strung everybody together like a lei and unified us in our resources, our connections, our community members, our places that we know of. And it strung it all together so that we know that it's not just our beautiful flower of one ʻOhana, but it's all of these many that make up this amazing lei, this Lei Ānuenue, this Lei Aloha Āina. And the Ko'olau ʻAina Momona program has really been a big part of that for here in Ko'olau, but we know that this needs to happen everywhere in our lahui. And even when you're abroad, you're in different parts of the world, there's beautiful native stories of places that you're at, of the community, of the indigenous people, of stories of creation and origin. But we have all of that everywhere around the world. So to learn that about your own place, that's what's so special. I really think about this program, that Malama Āina, that Ho'i o ke ea, is really something that Ko'olau ʻAina Momona has fostered in all of our families and our community.
Mahalo. You know, and we're getting close to Holo'umi, so I was thinking maybe if each of the makua, I was wondering if you could share maybe some words of advice or inspiration to other kumus out there like yourself, other makua out there, you know, as we're transitioning from Kauvela to starting a new school year. Like, if you could give some advice to one kumu out there or one makua out there that's still figuring it all out, like what would your piece of advice be to them? Okay, Ānuenue, you first.
I was waiting for someone else. No. Oh. I think one word of advice is to, you know, look at your resources that are close to you. You really don't have to go so far. You know, a lot of times we look outside for help, or we look for other resources, as we call them, but the resources remain like in those communities that we work alongside of. And I always tell the Keiki this every summer, is that we call it Keiki Magic. You know, they are magic, and not just that, like they open up spaces that we would never think would open. You know, or sometimes when it looks like it's gonna be this, you know, rain is good. You know, we love rain, but we live on the side that rains a lot. And we've gone to places, and as soon as the Keiki get there, it opens up, or there's a parking space that opens up. So for me, it's about just doing it, and again, looking within your own immediate resources first. And the more and more you do it, the more and more these spaces will open and be made available. So, may maka'u kahana.
Mahalo. And since we have ʻOhana Punua on, I guess I'm gonna ask the girls. Maybe, do you guys have any last mana'o? This is gonna be our last round. That's why going around. Or, you know, again, if there's another hana punahele, or if you wanted to speak to any keiki out there, what would you say to them?
Don't be afraid to get dirty.
Awesome. I love that.
I think if you do, like, for me, during the summer, I don't really want to go to summer school. I want to be outside. Like, and I think if you're a keiki out there who just wants to be outside, maybe try doing it yourself. You don't necessarily have to go in and go holo, but maybe just figure out a way that maybe start a garden at home, or somewhere you can mahi'ai, or do something outside.
Awesome. Mahalo. Kaya ka ʻOhana chap.
So thanks for Ānuenue for giving us some time to think about like what words we would share. I think you know, that time actually revealed something that I think we all could use is really just trusting in your kupuna. You know, I guess there's a couple stories you can share, but it's about like our pua'a harvest. We're looking around and trying to look for a resource that had pua'a, and we had a friend who had pua'a lined up for us, but that ʻOhana got sick and we couldn't use it and we couldn't connect. So luckily, we had to kind of put that on hold. But then just so happened, like in a matter of like a couple hours, Pua'a revealed itself. And so, we didn't have a plan B, but our Kupuna did. And so right there, the Pua'a from the ʻOhana begin was beautiful and it was tasty. And so, mahalo to our Kupuna for providing, because they always do.
I think another example of that is there's been a lot of people hiking up to Pu'uma Eli Eli, meaning that a lot of people are home, and whoever drives by there, you see people walking to the trail. But we were so fortunate when we went up there, we were the only ones up there. All of our Kahuluheia group were the only ones up there. So I think that's another example of that as well.
Yeah. So the Kupuna set the way. So listen to your grandfathers and grandmothers.
Mahalo. Kaya ka ʻOhana Domingo.
I just wanted to start and say I kako exactly what Lei Ānuenue said, being that stick to what you get, and you don't need to go farther than who you know and what you know to have a good time. Not a good time, but to have fulfilling and meaningful. We had this summer break, so I think for me, getting to know the people who live in our own communities was the most rewarding part of having to be separated from the rest of the hui, but at the same time forcing us to be like, hey, we get plenty stuff right where we live and don't need to awana to somewhere else to find something meaningful. And I think it's even more special when you get to know the people who live around you and you get to utilize the resources of your own ʻāina.
Any other mana'o from ʻOhana Domingo?
During this time of the ma'i'a hulau, it provided us the time and the space to po'ikaika our pilina with each other. So reach out to those closest to you if you haven't already, and go and find other momi in your own kaiaulu, even within your own ʻOhana. Tap into your kupuna. This summer we were able to tap into Puna with ʻOhana Miller, who taught us how to make inamona. Have them share mo'olelo with you. Ask them what they did when they in their Hanabata days. Auntie Tammy Smith and Kala mentioned this before. It was beautiful to see her relaxing, talking story with us outside of the kitchen, to share with us her wahupekole with her tutunan out in Punalu'u and Hau'ula. And we got to kind of imagine what it was like growing up. And she also hyped us to think about our resources and how we use them, and who the people are using the resources and how we take care of them for the future generation. So, ayan no. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Pea o koe ka ʻOhana Kanoa-Wong.
Mikime ka ʻānuenue mana'o, it was a great challenge to have to find the resources. I mentioned before, Manalo, very organic, because Kumu Jazz and I were like, okay, I have lo'i. I wonder who has lo'i, and I couldn't think of it. And I remembered that some ʻOhana of ours had been showing us pictures for the last few years of old terraces that they had been restoring, and we totally forgot and remembered. And when I was trying to see him on the side of the road at Lei Ānuenue, and made the connection, and he was like, yes, we'd love more keiki to come. And going back there for the first time and seeing what he's already done, and then he showed us all these other old terraces in the back of Waimanalo. We can restore terraces back there for years and years to come, and showing this Waimanalo keiki that there's lots of hana mauka that we can continue to do. I think was super awesome. And even for the pua'a task that Anake Ānuenue gave us, I'm not the most Moka person, but we asked Anake Ilima Holastimosa to pupua us, and sure enough, there's a pua'a raised at Sitar, then was being raised at her father's house in Homestead, and then we were able to not only harvest it in our ahupua'a, so it was raised in our ahupua'a, we harvested it in our ahupua'a, and then we cooked it. We used her china box to try something different and cooked it at our house in Homestead, and then consumed it all in Waimanalo. So this pua'a never left Waimanalo. And it was a great task that was a little daunting at first, but once you really reached out and put it out, it was such a great hub, for our Kiki. So mahalo Ānuenue for all the challenges you posed to us this summer. And the ʻāina momona, just the name that Ānuenue has us focus on, the ʻāina momona, was really important in every aspect. Everything that we did goes back to how can we live off this land, the land in our own backyards. How can we use the community resources that we already have, like everybody's mentioned, but actually doing it was so important, so vital. And like kalamama, just the pule, finding our resources and having the guts to do it was awesome. This summer and all the other summers. Mahalo ni.
Mahalo. Oh yeah, Laiana kay manao ko kalamay.
No, just mahalo nui for these opportunities. And I guess if the question was for the educators or resources or families that are out there, Ānuenue brought it up earlier, kali'u kapa'akai. And it's something Anakala Eri Ka'anana used to tell us when we were little Keiki kupe kole Ānuenue. And he would remind us, oh, kali'u kapa'akai. And when we were young, we didn't really understand fully what it meant. But he was always telling us in reference to the abundance that was already there. It was preserved with pa'akai, or the solid ocean salt. And this pa'akai, it may look like California grass. This pa'akai may look like invasive trees and weeds. But underneath, when you remove that covering, is all of these lo'i. It's all of these lokoi'a. It's all of this abundance, this momona. And to be able to find that within your community as an educator, it's all there. Everything you need is there. All you have to do is trust and look, kind of like what Kalama was saying, trust your kupuna, the people around you and that are watching over you. And it's there. It's all there. It's salted and preserved for us. Our ike, our olelo, the mana, it's all there if you want to tap in. And so for the educators out there, look within your resources in your community, but it's all salted and preserved for us. And when we're ready, we'll be able to eat.
Awesome. Mahalo nui. And by the way, Ānuenue, is there a website or something if people want? No. I was just wondering. They got to go look on your Facebook page then if they wanted to connect with you guys or find out more about Ko'olau ʻāina momona.
Yeah, we're kind of on the down low,
okay.
but not really. We're on our, if you are friends with me on Facebook, we do have an Instagram account. It's Āina Momona Academy, and I'm always open to talk story. So we could always share my email or anything, and just we have been approached by many people to help start one in their community, and I said I can help you start one in your community because it's not going to look like our program because everybody's resources is oko'a. Yeah. But I did want to just like one last mana'o that Laiana really shared. Like in 2015 when we started, that was kind of and today's the anniversary, the 1 year since our kupuna on the Mauna were arrested, which we were there for. But in 2015 was kind of that first startup of when we were trying to block the road. And I have an old picture of our Keiki going down to the BLNR, holding signs, our own Ko'olau ʻāina momona Keiki, and we had a really good discussion after that because I said, you realize that Mauna Kea is on Hawaii Island, and it's equally as important. All of us have connection to that Mauna, and it really pushed us to think like, but what about our Mauna? What about our resources? What about our places? Because these keiki are the advocates for our ʻāina. They're going to be the ones who will speak on behalf of our ʻāina. And once you can do that, then you can go all over the world and share your story. And I think that's really what all of our ʻohana are deeply connected. You know, we have a waiting list. I guess she can share, but a lot of it is the type of activities we have. We have to trust each other. You know, we have to have trust among all of us in order to send our keiki out in the ocean with Anakala Ali'i. And you know, it's not so easy for all ʻohana, and that's a big mitigating risk, right? Is that I said I am liable for your keiki as you are liable for my keiki, and that's the only way that this program is successful. Because the moment you have kind of kanalua about things, then we have to have a conversation. Yeah, like, because maybe this is not the best program for you. But yeah, mahalo nui a oe malia no ke konoa no mai a mako. Yeah, I would put out my email, momonaacademy@gmail.com. You want to talk stories somewhere, you can lakawila mai.
Awesome. So yeah, I feel like I want to yell out "Eo ko'olau" because I love these mo'olelo shared today on behalf of Ko'olau, Āina Momona, and all the beautiful experiences that ʻohana have had. And I see plenty of all of your fans on Facebook just sharing it up, even here on Zoom. You know, everybody's just loving it, from Waianae to Kilauea to Kaneohe to the tutus out there. Kim Bernie and everybody else, all the grandmas and grandpas and aunties and uncles are just loving it. And just, you know, just so thankful for the great work that's being done. So mahalo to each of you for sharing your time and your mo'olelo with us here on Lei Ānuenue. And again, I heard so many different momi of ways we can all start your own program if you don't have one already, and start right there in your onehana or wherever you're living. Work with your resources around you, make those pilina, those connections, find those resources. Yeah, I just love it. It's always so inspiring. And I hope that this brought some inspiration to our kumu out there, or even makua that are looking for these different options. Here on our slide, you can see our survey. We humbly ask you to take, it usually takes about 2 minutes to answer our questions, and you can find it at kanayokana.net/survey. This really helps us serve you better, and we just ask, like, how many people are there with you? What did you like about it? If you want to stay connected with us, you can opt into sharing your email, but that's optional. But just, yeah, take a few minutes if you can. We love hearing your feedback. As always, we, Lei Ānuenue, Aikole, and then so many more webinars are coming up. And so later on today at 12, in just a little while, Aikole, hosted by Ekela Kani'aupi Okrozier, will be having Kalani Pe'a on the show. And if you missed the Wednesday episode, that was with some kinayahi. So, and these are just 2 of the 3 kinayahi that were on the show. And it was a fabulous discussion with them and just learning about their experiences too. Maka'olelo Hawaii. So that was really cool. And you can always go find out the schedule at kanayokana.net/lei. So stay connected with us, and mahalo to all of our partners that help us make this possible. To Hawaii Nui Akea, Kanayokana. Follow us on Facebook as well as Instagram. That's how you can get the most updated information. And just as a FYI, next week we're gonna be having a platform of Kanayokana talks and kumu talks, and really, again, pouring into our kumu and providing space for inspiring them to prepare for this next school year. So we won't be having a Lei Ānuenue and Aikole show next week. But yeah, stay connected with us, check out our schedule, And again, a big mahalo to the ʻOhana of Ko'olau ʻāina momona for sharing with us today. All of the mo'olelo to each of the keiki, and of course to all of the kupuna and the makua that continue to pour into all of our keiki. Aloha no, aloha.